I'm Rebecca Jones with Armada Drawing Solutions, and today we're talking everything universal design. What is it? How do you use it? How do you talk about it? And most importantly, how do you integrate it in your new build? Hi, I'm Rebecca Jones with Armada Drawing Solutions, and I am here with LiveAble Homes, Jackie and Beth, who did the universal design for this Street of Dreams build by Red Hills Construction. So today we're going to just talk a little bit about universal design, because I feel like a lot of people don't really know what that is. So what is universal design?
So people use kind of different terms interchangeably: accessible design, aging in place, universal design. What distinguishes universal design is really using design that all ages, all heights, all abilities are able to access. So you're designing for a space that is just as functional for a 3-year-old as it is for a 90-year-old. It's just as functional for someone in a wheelchair as it is someone who's on 2 feet. So it's really designing spaces that work across a lifetime and that work across all abilities, and decreasing the need for remodeling.
So why would you say to a contractor or a designer looking to build a new home or do a whole home renovation, why is keeping universal design in mind important?
Yeah, I think as we move along in our stages of life, something changes. We may have an injury. Our kids get older. We get older. We live in our homes differently through each process, through each stage. And if you can have the forethought to anticipate those needs and putting in infrastructure that will support any accommodations that need to be made down the road, is just really smart design. There's a sustainability aspect as well, because you're thinking about what that forever home really means and looks like.
You mentioned earlier that a lot of folks don't start thinking about universal design until something's happened or they're having a surgery, and then they have to go back and either retrofit or widen doorways. What are some of the advantages to, from the beginning, getting universal design in place?
Well, I think right off the bat, there's a huge economic consideration. So if you are at a plan stage, building, designing something, and you're widening, and all of your doorways are 36 inches, that costs virtually nothing to do. If you widen a doorway in remodeling, it can be up to $4,000, $5,000 per doorway. Similarly, if you have your electrical outlets installed in your baseboard or at 12 inches from the floor, which is often standard, it's no matter where you put your outlets, it's free in plans when you're framing. To change your outlet so it's higher, so it's accessible for someone who maybe is in a wheelchair who can't bend down as far, then you're looking at about $300-400 per outlet once you get into drywall and paint and all of that. So really economically, if you're planning from the beginning, there's a very minimal cost differential between designing a home with universal design standards and designing a home without. Once you get a completed house and you're going back and retrofitting for their changes, there's a huge economic hit with that.
That makes sense. That makes me think of my dad had back surgery. So we had a spinal fusion, and we get him back from the hospital, and he has his walker. And we realize at that point that the walker doesn't fit through the bathroom doorway. And that's something that, although Armada Drawing Solutions, we make products which are great for universal design, and I'm aware of width of doors in regards to our air pocket door, I never even would have thought of, that it might not be wide enough. Someone already owns a house and they want to do some renovations to prepare. What would your top 5 recommendations be for that?
I think definitely looking at anti-slip surfaces is a big piece. If we can prevent a fall, that will help somebody live with their longevity and living in that space for as long as they choose. The doorways are definitely a consideration. A lot of the different surfaces and the finishes the hardware that you would pick, having a D handle for drawers, having lower drawers that pull out, again, good for the 3-year-old as well as a 90-year-old. I love to not have to bend up to carry heavy plates, where I can just pick them up and they're right there. What other things would you say?
Making modifications for no-step entries. And so lots of our homes are built with stairs, even if you don't need them, right? That there's an aesthetic element to that. And so often what we're doing is we're coming into people's homes and saying, okay, so how do we convert this to a no-step threshold? If you are in a wheelchair, that 1 6-inch step means you're not getting in the house, right? Especially like in a power wheelchair. But the same if you have a baby in a stroller and all your groceries, like a step is very much an obstacle. So working with that, either working with contractors to modify a transition, to pour a ramp, or even just working. We often put in these angled wedge mats, exterior wedge mats, which we've done here in Studio Dreams, also just to make a temporary way to access the home, to get over a smaller threshold that can be left there as long as you like. They're very sturdy, but then you're not doing the remodeling costs. So that's like $100 versus, thousands of dollars.
That's a good point.
I think some of the things people don't think about too is adding extra lighting, different types of lighting, so that you can have task lighting as our eyes get tired or we age. We need brighter light. Having natural light is good for everybody. And yeah.
Oh my gosh, grab bars.
Oh, grab bars, of course.
Oh yeah,
It's like our whole tagline, can grab bars be sexy? So let's talk about grab bars.
yeah. Can they be sexy?
They sure can. So now, in the past few years, there's really been this wonderful developments in the design of grab bars that are really in line with fixtures in general. So Delta, Kohler, Moen, everyone, high-end designers, high-end fixture design. You can get beautiful grab bars that go with your towel bars, that go with your aesthetic, that go with your faucets. And grab bars are really essential in that not only do they prevent a fall at any age, but they increase stability, they increase security for if you're sick, you're getting over the flu, you have some balance issues, it gives you something to hang on to. If you're in a steam room and the heat goes to your head, you stand up, it gives you something to hang on to. So it really contributes to security. Grab bars have really become, there's this narrative that a grab bar is sort of like you are on your way out. You only get grab bars when you're real old, and they're all chrome and they look like they're from a hospital. I was just going to say, right?
Yeah.
So we put in beautiful wooden grab bars that are Italian designed. We put in, brass, matte black, oil rub bronze, and we really look to, when we work with a family, we're putting in grab bars to fit those into the aesthetic design of their house, not only to make them feel better about being in their home safer, but also to promote and protect resale value when they do sell the property.
Oftentimes, if I'm at a showroom and I'm talking about our products, doing a training, and I mentioned that they're great for universal design, and I just look out at a crowd of people that don't actually even know what that means,
right?
So what do you think the barrier is with getting more people to understand the importance of not just for aging or folks with disabilities, but for everybody? I mean, the things that you mentioned are like great for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? So I think a lot of people don't realize that. So what do you think some of the ways are that we could help like spread the word on the importance of it?
It really becomes important and pertinent to somebody when they've had a lived experience. They've had a loved one that has needed care. They themselves have torn their Achilles and understand what it's like to try to get upstairs to put their kids to bed and get to their own bedroom, right? So I think that having that lived experience, if you haven't experienced that, it's not on your radar. So really how important it is throughout our life, not just as we're aging, but that it is truly good for everybody. One of the other features, especially talking about bathrooms, is having high contrast materials. So the floor is a different color than the cabinet is a different color than the countertop, right? So that if you have any visual disturbances or it's dark in the middle of the night and you can't quite see what you're doing, that really can help play into the universal design for everybody.
And we do a lot of education with builders and remodelers, with realtors, with homeowners around what does universal design mean, really trying to shift that narrative from having it to do with aging, which of course it's pertinent, but more having to do with us being human. I always say, like, human bodies are breakable. We all break a body. And as soon as you can make that connection in a story with someone and tap into their lived experience, the light bulb goes off, right? So when I say, my middle child jumped in showers all the time and he fell all the time, and every time we would laugh because he'd lost 2 more IQ points, right, when he'd hit his head. Had he had something to hold on to in the shower, he would have been happy because he would have jumped higher, and I would have been happy because he would have fallen less, right? And so when I share that story, people are like, oh, right, oh my gosh. Because bathrooms, we focus a lot on bathrooms. Bathrooms are the most common place for injuries, regardless of your age. You are wet, you are soapy, and you're generally naked, and there's nothing to hold on to. And so you're changing, you're standing up, you're bending over, you're moving your body. And every time you make one of those transitions, you really increase your chance of falling, especially if you have any balance issues. So when we do that education, when you talk about that piece, that's what we really lean into is, It's not just about aging. It is also about that, but it's about being human and how we use our bodies. And everyone has an experience of falling. Everyone has an experience of feeling unstable and then uncertain when they can't find something to keep them safe.
Yeah, that's actually a valid point. When you were talking about the lighting, I was thinking that would be good for me too, because when I don't have my glasses on, I
Right?
can't see anything.
Well, it kind of comes back to comfort. Like,
Yeah.
how can we most comfortably live in our homes?
Right.
If you have lighting that doesn't work and doesn't feel good, then it's not comfortable, right? If you are able to climb into your bathtub, that's easier because you have a place to hold on to. That is more comfortable. The pull-out drawers, it's just, there's a lot of comfort pieces, I think, that come into play.
Yeah, and that just adds such value to the build, and people can tell when they walk in here that it was designed with a ton of intention. So at what stage were you guys brought in to consult on the universal design in this project?
We were brought in specifically originally to consult on the in-law quarters. So those were being specifically constructed and designed for an older woman to be in a multi-generational household and to be there for the rest of her life, right? And so we were brought in to look at that to see, okay, here's what the designer had looked at. Was there anything she had missed? And one of the first things we said is like, hey, where's the grab bars in the wet room? And she goes, oh, she doesn't want grab bars. And we're like, we need grab bars. Let's be clear, there will be grab bars in the bathroom. And it's what we run into all the time. They're ugly, they don't look nice. She doesn't want a reminder of mortality. And so, we'll, when we go into the bathroom, which I hope we can see, we said, how about this, right? And we had really high design, really beautiful, really subtle grab bars that are incredibly safe. And as we always say with universal design, if it's done well, it disappears, right? But it's there when you need it. You will grab something when you fall. And if it's not something that's stable, then you're going to fall harder. And so when we were brought in at that stage, we focused on the in-law quarters. And then knowing it was a multi-generational household, we said, let's look around the rest of the home. And we're able to see these incredible universal design decisions that have been made without intention. And so the designer, one of them that I loved is downstairs where the younger family will live. There's rounded countertops. And I said, oh, that's great. We love rounded countertops. And she said, oh yeah, I know, because the granddaughter is 3 and we don't want her to hit her head. And I said, yeah, because then we hit our hips as adults. We hit a corner and that hurts. And rounded countertops are good for everybody. And as we toured the house and as we talked with the designer, it was really wonderful to start hearing how she had sort of made these decisions without thinking about it from that lens. And as soon as we were speaking from that lens, she was like, oh my gosh. And we were able to then get more grab bars in, bring in more safety features to really amplify what she had already done.
Someone in the local area or Washington or Oregon wanted to work with you guys, how would they get in touch with you?
They can go to our website. We're www.LiveAble, but it's spelled LiveAble, kind of like LiveAble, homes.org. So liveablehomes.org. They can email us there and reach out on the socials, same handles for all of those.
We have ways to schedule a home assessment or to do a design consultation with builders and remodelers. And we can do that. We do that locally in person, but we also are able to do that virtually. So really anywhere in the country, someone can schedule a home assessment or a design consultation.
That's a great point, knowing that you can do nationwide advising as well. Well, thank you guys so much. This has been really awesome.
Thank you.